David Miller from New Primal tells us why, when you're feeling peckish, that organically produced jerky is just the answer. Here's his story.
Good morning, David, and welcome to the Carb Paleo show.
Good morning. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning. I hope you are both wonderfully well.
Absolutely. Hi, Mark.
I am. So, David, your common friends, again, Melissa and you, friend Sadie Olson, told us about your wonderful products, and I was curious, how did you get to the Primal Paleo environment? I mean, what's your health path?
Yeah, so like a lot of other people, it was a broken road of health that kind of led me to finding paleo. Out of college, had gained some weight, the drinking, the pizza, things like that in college that are so common. Was looking to get healthier, started getting back in the gym, and was doing a lot of the men's health, men's fitness workouts, and following a lot of that diet. And saw some results, but I actually, out of college, became a firefighter. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do after college, so I became a firefighter for the city of Charleston in South Carolina for a few years. And at that time, so this is 2007, paleo and CrossFit were not really inundated in pop culture yet. And so it was a very police, military, firefighter environment. And so I found out about CrossFit through firefighting, and from CrossFit learned about paleo, started experimenting with it, and found excellent results. At that time, it was a very small community, as I mentioned previously, and I've just stuck with it ever since. 80-20 has been my kind of my version of paleo that I've done. It's allowed me to stay pretty much more or less on that path for the past 10 years.
So, David, you are with Melissa, Jason, and Ashley, the co-founders of New Primal, and your company offers jerky, mixed meat sticks, snack mates, and coming soon, a new product. And we'll talk about this. We'll talk about all of this later as well.
Okay.
How did you come up with this line of product? What started the whole company, and why you decided to offer these kind of products?
Yeah, so Jason Burke is our founder and CEO. This brand started really as organically as a company can start, and that was basically accidentally. He got into paleo and CrossFit in 2009. Was looking for a clean, healthy afternoon snack. That was where he found the most difficulty. It wasn't so much in meals and meal planning. It was the 3:00 in the afternoon at his desk. What snack do you go to? And he got tired of cashews and almonds and those types of trail mixes very quickly. And so he thought, what better high protein, clean afternoon snack than jerky? But what he found in the market was that there really wasn't anything that he was looking for, because he wanted paleo, he wanted grass-fed, grass-finished beef, he wanted no added sugar. He wanted to know the animal welfare aspect was there, and the product that he was looking for simply didn't exist. And so he literally Googled how to make beef jerky. He bought a $30 dehydrator and just started playing with different marinades. So he was buying grass-fed, grass-finished beef from Whole Foods, slicing it thin. The first few iterations, he still claims to this day, were almost inedible. He didn't come from a chef or a background really at all. But what he did was, he stuck with it, and he found some flavor profiles that worked really well. Started taking it in Ziploc bags just as a snack for himself, not in an effort to create a company. And as he got better and better at making it, people were trying it both at his gym and at work. And people started requesting, hey, next time you make a batch, can you make me a bag? Can you make me a couple bags? And leaving cash on his desk at work, giving him cash at his gym. And so he ended up having 60 hydrators going on his kitchen counter at one point. And his lovely wife, Kristen, went out for a girls' night out one evening, and she came home and she wasn't in a good mood, and she said these dehydrators have to go. And he was kind of taken aback. He said, well, what's the problem? And she said her friends had teased her all evening that she smelled like she'd just come from a barbecue. You know, her hair and her clothes all smelled like beef and smoke. So that was kind of the tipping point of where he took it from his kitchen counter to he was lucky in the fact that he had a good friend who has a catering company in Charleston, South Carolina, which is where we're based,
Right.
who allowed him to rent a tiny little room. I'm in a hotel room. It was really about this size, to start making it there and packaging it there. You know, fast forward about 6 months and he thinks, you know, I think I have a company here.
Right.
It was just really catching on. So he built kind of a really janky website, and he started putting jerky in a backpack, and just, I mean, grassroots effort as all get out. I mean, pounding pavement in Charleston, South Carolina, saying, hey, I'm making this product. I think this would work really well, you know, in the little independents and corner stores. And we have an outdoor retailer that has a few locations in Charleston. So really as organic as a company can start. And then it just kind of continued from there. And you know, fast forward 6 years, last year we had the number one selling jerky in the United States in the natural channel throughout all of 2016. So it's been a really fun journey, and I've enjoyed being part of it.
It's nice, very nice to hear that story. Sometimes that's what it takes to create a whole new business, is just to decide to do what you want to do and what you cannot find in the market. And sometimes that can lead to something very successful, like in your case. So that's a great, great story. And can you shortly describe each line of products and how it's used by customers?
Sure. Yeah. So the new Primal's flagship line, what we started out with was whole muscle cut jerky. That's what Jason started out making, and that's what we brought to market first. And so whole muscle cut, of course, meaning full muscle cuts of beef that are not chopped up and ground and formed like a lot of other products. That's your traditional, rip tear type jerky. And so currently we have 4 jerky products. We have a classic grass-fed, grass-finished beef jerky. We have a spicy grass-fed, grass-finished jerky. We have a classic turkey jerky, and we have a very new product that's actually just kind of hitting the market right now. That's probably our most kind of gourmet flavor. That's really taking off. And that's our Dayton Rosemary chicken jerky, which is a free-range chicken. It's paleo certified, just like all of our other products. It's gluten-free certified. And this particular one is also AIP friendly, which is our first autoimmune protocol friendly option, because it doesn't have honey. All of our other jerkies have honey in the marinade. And the Dayton Rosemary chicken jerky actually has macerated dates, so a date paste or a date syrup in place of the honey, as honey can be a trigger for certain people. So we wanted to try to support, as that really takes off on the West Coast. I think we're finding that the AIP diet is becoming a lot more popular in different areas. People look to.
Can you explain what the AIP diet is?
Yeah, so the autoimmune protocol diet, or the AIP diet, is sort of, I think a lot of people would view it as an offshoot of paleo, rooted similarly to Whole30 or other kind of subgenres of paleo like that. For people who have acute reactions to the foods that they eat, it's an effort to kind of take away a lot of things. So it's a pretty strict, very filtered diet. Nightshades are taken out, something like honey, which we generally think of as a very healthy ingredient, that's removed because it can be a trigger for a lot of people. And so they take those things away for a set amount of time, whether it's 30, 60, 90 days, and then they start to reintroduce very slowly, so they can gauge their reaction, to try to help to identify causes of an inflammation or gut inflammation within them.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for explaining that.
Absolutely.
And so then you have the snack mates.
So the next line after the jerky that we launched were sticks in January of
Sticks.
We're in January of 2016. We launched 3 stick options. So think like a healthy version of a Slim Jim. a quick on-the-go snack. And we set what we thought was a very aggressive sales projection on them. And I believe, if I remember correctly, we outsold that projection by 1,500% in quarter one of 2016. So that was very eye-opening, and kind of told us that was something the market was really interested in. They retail typically for $1.99, and they have all the same call-outs. So all the beef that's used is grass-fed, grass-finished beef, and all the other proteins are fully free-range. They're all paleo certified. They're all gluten-free certified. And then at $1.99, they're a great car item. I think we find that people often buy a handful of them as opposed to one, and just keep them in the glove compartment or the center console of their car. So you're stuck in traffic and you're a little bit hangry. You've got that kind of low price point, but you get a lot of bang for your buck with a very nutrient dense product like that. So those three that we launched were the same flavor profiles as our jerky initially. So we had a classic beef, a spicy beef, and a classic turkey. But due to the sales and the market reaction to that, we actually immediately put into R&D expanding some flavors. So we actually have 7 sticks currently, in addition to the core launch that we did. We now have a habanero pineapple grass-fed beef, which is my favorite. That one, you just can't go wrong with a little spice and a little sweet to offset it. Right. Then we have a cilantro lime turkey, which is fantastic. And then we have 2 free-range pork options. We have a barbecue pork, and then an uncured maple bacon, which actually was my favorite at first. I think I overdid it a little bit with the maple bacon when we first launched it. So I've switched over to the habanero pineapple. So yeah, we have currently 7 sticks options available.
And I can vouch for them. They're very tasty.
Excellent. Thank you. I'm glad you like them. Yeah.
And then we have the Snack Mates.
So yeah, Snack Mates was next. And Snack Mates, we as a small-ish company, we still have a small number of folks on the team. We try to let the market dictate. We look for white space in our line expansions. And so when we launched the sticks, most of us on our team, we have young kids. And our kids just went absolutely crazy over the sticks. And so it was kind of one of those light bulb moments where we thought, wow, kids snacking is such a huge market. It's a huge segment in the grocery, brick and mortar retail market. But it's all the same thing, right? It's all high fructose corn syrup. It's a bunch of added sugar. It's really all carbs. It's hard to find anything but carbs. There's really no fat or protein in that aisle, that lunchbox aisle, as we call it. So we thought, why not be the first to launch a kids clean protein snack? So what we did was we took our sticks, the classic turkey and the classic beef. We just dialed back the black pepper a little bit in that product because you don't want your kids' mouth to be on fire. Kids have a little bit more of a mild palate. And so we packaged them individually, just like string cheese. In fact, that's sort of how we frame it when we're talking to folks about it. It's the new string cheese. And they're in a 5-pack bag for $5.99 typically at retail. And we intentionally did 5 of them 5 days in the school week. So they're the perfect size to go in a lunchbox.
That's a great idea. Yeah. God knows our kids need healthy food.
Absolutely.
Take to, instead of this horrible cafeteria food
that's right.
they get. Now, I can't help but wonder, how do you source your products? Do you work with certain farms? Do you want to name names? I mean, you're welcome to.
Yeah, so I won't necessarily name names because of the nature of our supply chain. Our beef actually all comes from New Zealand and Australia. When we started out, we sourced from Oregon and Washington State primarily because there was a supply of grass-fed beef there. We were looking for domestic beef. But they were small family farms and we grew at quite a rapid rate, initially being the first company to launch a grass-fed, grass-finished beef jerky into the U.S. market, which we're very proud of, obviously, and it helped us get a foothold into the market. But a couple things happened. They struggled to keep up on the supply chain side with our growth. And then as we actually started going down the rabbit hole with the non-GMO projects to get non-GMO verification, and they essentially told us, if you continue to source from the United States, you're going to have a lot of trouble ever getting certified. And we were kind of blown away by that because, we've got statements upon statements, and we know that our farms are non-GMO farms, that they're 100% grass-fed farms. But their filter that they use is such a minute breakdown that it was actually rainwater from surrounding farms that was a potential contaminant. And so if the surrounding farms use GMOs, they will not certify you. So that was a good learning piece for us, and we always joke that we've paid for our education every step of the road. And so we took our beef sourcing to New Zealand, and that solved a lot of problems for us. As far as supply chain, I don't think there's any way we could ever outgrow the supply chain that's available in New Zealand, and it's a network of family farms, all with the same statements, same affidavits, 100% grass-fed. GMOs are illegal in New Zealand, so that solved the GMO problem for us. Grass-fed, grass-finished is the rule there rather than the exception, as it is in the United States, unfortunately. And they have more cattle than people. So they've been able to keep up as we've grown, and so we've found as we have grown that Australia has a very similar supply. So some of the beef does come from Australia now as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's a farm not too far from you, White Oak Farms, which I visited last year, and
fantastic organization. Yeah.
They could be also a good source.
Absolutely, and we've talked to them in the past. I think our operations team is always looking at different sourcing and relationships and things like that. So Ashley on the operations side, she's got all those relationships, and she remains in contact with all those people, and you can never have too many options available for clean sourcing.
Which is, it's great that you found the source. Too bad it's outside the country though. As you alluded to previously,
if paleo does continue on the track that it's on, and this becomes a more standard thing, I think the market will react, right? I think more and more people will move away from feedlot farming and concentrated animal farming operations, and you're going to see this shift, and we hope to be a strong part of that as the market kind of forces companies to go grass-fed. I think it's a natural reaction.
Right. I could see that between you and Epic, you're already pushing the door wide open.
Absolutely.
I'm surprised that farmers are not keeping up with that, or ranchers.
We've definitely seen some growth, and we've seen more farms going to that.
Right.
It's just a timing thing. I think both Epic and us have grown at a rate that it's going to take a while. I mean, just even from a raising of the cattle position, it takes significantly longer to raise a grass-fed, grass-finished herd of cattle as opposed to, the force feeding and the terrible things that happen in feedlots. So I think it'll get there. I think it's just a little bit of a timing thing.
Right. And about the chicken and turkey, where do you get them from?
Yeah. So the chicken and turkey comes from Pittman Farms in Sanger, California. Mary Pittman, who's like a culinary icon in California. You mentioned the Pittman farm in California, and in the natural community, at least, people's, their eyes light up, and I know Mary, or I know so-and-so in the family. So that's a great thing for us. And they're actually grown specifically for us on fully non-GMO feeds. So they're a great partner to work with. Fantastic. And then our pork is a network of farms domestically that are fully pastured.
Okay, good. Now let's talk about specific. Now we already know that your products are paleo, but they're also gluten-free, soy-free, grass-fed, grass-finished, hormone and antibiotic-free. Can you elaborate on that and how you got to that point?
Yeah. So initially when we started out, our jerky was actually primal, but not paleo. Everyone and their mother, it seems, in this category, in this market, they tend to use soy sauce, often additives that you have trouble pronouncing, these polysyllabic words that look like they were made in a lab. And so we were offering a clean, 100% grass-fed right from the beginning. But initially we used a non-GMO tamari sauce that was gluten-free, and it was non-GMO. And it was just due to a cost basis, right? As we were a small company, tamari is significantly more expensive than soy, and coconut aminos, which is what we really wanted to be using, are about 30x of what even tamari is. So we had to grow to a certain point where we could get there to really step our game up. And we did that a little over, I guess probably about a year and a half ago. We replaced the tamari with coconut aminos. We're the first company, and so far the only company to have done that, to my knowledge, in the United States, at least on a large scale, national availability. And so basically we always want to stay a step ahead of the game. You know, our commitment to the market and to consumers is to offer, we call it the highest integrity option, right? And so in order to offer the highest integrity option, I think it's important that you bring your A game, right? You can't just have grass fed, but then have soy and a bunch of added sugar, or you can't just be gluten free, but then there's a bunch of other junk in your product. So for us, first and foremost, grass-fed, grass-finished beef, animal welfare, again, obviously is a huge aspect of what the new Primal promises the consumer. And then antibiotic and hormone-free, I think that has become almost ubiquitous across the market. So that's one of the call-outs, but maybe has lost a little bit of its importance, which is a good thing because you see the market changing. And then, Paleo certified was big for us. Switching from tamari to coconut aminos allowed for that, so there's no soy. We are still going through that non-GMO verification, which is a lengthy process. And for something like jerky, there are a lot more ingredients involved than a lot of products. So a lot of moving parts to getting that certification. We hope to have that later this year. And then no added sugar. I mean, I think that is a huge difference. We call it the dirty little secret of the jerky world. It's just tons of sugar and sodium. And typically what we find is it's a combination of, a lot of Americans just love sugar. They're addicted to it, right? But it's also a money game. If you have 100 pounds of beef and you turn it into jerky, you only net about 30 pounds of jerky. But if you load it up with sugar and you load it up with sodium, those ingredients don't cook out. So you get kind of an artificial yield rate, which a lot of people like to do. And it's a little bit of greed probably involved there. So that's another one of our commitments. We've got a touch of honey and a touch of pineapple juice in our marinade. That's the only sugar involved at all. And so there's no added refined sugar at all. So yeah, hormone-free, antibiotic-free, gluten-free, non-GMO, paleo-friendly, top 8 allergen-free, which I think especially in classrooms and with kids, that's becoming more and more important to people in the animal welfare aspect. So yeah, a lot of call outs that separate us, which is good. It helps me in my job. It's a pretty competitive market. There are a lot of jerky companies out there. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for explaining that.
Sure.
Now let's talk about your new secret product. So this is going to be meat marinades.
That's right.
And what can you tell us about it?
Yeah, so it was a secret. They are actually hitting Whole Foods shelves nationwide as we speak. They started about 2 weeks ago. By the end of the month, I would say that you should be able to find them on every single shelf in any Whole Foods in the United States. Whole Foods does have an exclusive on them in May, June, July. They'll be available to the rest of the market in August. But yeah, so I mentioned earlier, we like to find white space, right? I mean, that's what's allowed us to be successful in the jerky and the meat snack world, is that we offered something that was truly different. It's a hard market to break into, but if you're offering incremental sales and a lot of value to the retailer, I think they're going to be receptive to that anytime they can have something that's completely different and like I said, white space. And so we found there's huge white space availability in the marinade set of really any, whether it's natural or conventional grocery retailer. No one has really disrupted that game in a very long time. It's all oils, right? Primarily canola oil, but an oil of some sort. Most of them are canola. Lots of added sugar, lots of ingredients that are hard to pronounce. That you don't know what that product is when you see that ingredient. And soy, right? So it's soy, canola oil, a bunch of sugar, and a bunch of junk. And so what we recognized was, if people are looking for a clean jerky or a clean meat snack, and we see it happen in a lot of other categories that have all been moving forward, and folks have come in and disrupted categories and been very successful doing so. We make a marinade for our jerky. Why not just tweak that a little bit and make it available to the consumer? So we just basically made a couple very minor changes. We have 3 options. There's a classic and a spicy marinade, which are meant for more for red meat. And then we have a citrus herb that's more for your poultry or fish. Works fantastic with that. And so coconut aminos based. Coconut aminos, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but coconut aminos are actually the #1 selling product in the ethnic section, which is just where it lives at Whole Foods, across the board in every region of the United States. So that's definitely something that I think is trending up. People are Googling it, learning more about the positive benefits of coconut aminos. And so that's the primary ingredient: some apple cider vinegar, some spices, herbs, a little bit of pineapple juice. Very simple, but it's one of those things that no one had done it, right. So it's paleo certified, just like everything else. It's gluten-free certified. This one we're really excited about is actually Whole30 approved, which is our first Whole30 approved item. So folks who are struggling to get through those 30 days of really, really kind of dialed in eating, now have a great option to use for marinating meats. We've used it on vegetables. We've cooked it down and used it as a finishing sauce. So it's a really nice utility item that can be used in a lot of different ways.
And so, do you have oil in it?
No, it's oil free. Yeah, it's oil free. There's no added sugar. It's a truly different differentiator, I guess, in that set.
Okay. Well, now the secret is out.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. So you alluded already that you are in a Whole Foods market. Where else are your products sold?
Yeah, so we when we started, as I mentioned, very grassroots, going into independents and co-ops, and then it kind of just grew from there. A lot of smaller chains. Earth Fare was one of our first natural retailers. Oddly enough, we actually got into Publix in the Southeast. I don't know if you're familiar with that retailer,
yes.
But one of the major, more conventional, but they've done a really good job of having some cleaner, healthier options in a lot of categories. They were actually one of our first retail partners. We had no idea what we were doing. We actually got that. Jason, our founder, he placed a cold call to the category manager at Publix, and lo and behold, somehow he answered. Somehow he invited the new Primal to come pitch. And so Publix was actually carrying a grass-fed, grass-finished beef jerky before any Whole Foods in the United States, which is still kind of blows our minds when we look back on it. But some of our key retail partners, Publix in the Southeast. We're in about 800 Kroger stores with our jerky. Target, we did a test last year, very successful. So we've tripled our doors. Still not in the majority, but we're in about half of they have what's called health and wellness stores. So if you're lucky enough to have one of those Targets in your area, Target is a great one. Safeway, we're in a couple of Safeway regions. REI, the outdoors retailer, REI, which is a great account and kind of a fun one to be in, right? We actually have a lot of products with them. They carry in certain stores up to 9 of our products. So that's a really nice offering.
Well, it makes sense when you want to go out camping. You want something portable.
Yeah, exactly. A functional high nutrition density snack for sure.
Right.
Harris Teeter is another strong one. Whole Foods, like I mentioned, the marinades are available as we speak, or are becoming available in every Whole Foods in the United States. And then the jerky and sticks are available in certain regions, hoping to become available nationally early next year. And then Meyer up in the Midwest, in your neck of the woods, Central Market is a very strong retailer of ours. PCC Markets moves actually more product of ours than anyone in the United States. They're up in Seattle, New Seasons in Portland. So yeah, what we found is we have a product that I call it crossover appeal, right? Because you can make a really clean product and sell very well in your Whole Foods or your local independent or co-op. But to see a product work well in conventional space, at the Safeways, the Publix, the Targets.
Right.
That's exciting, right? Because that's showing that the product really has a lot of crossover appeal, and the more conventional consumer who maybe doesn't always shop at Whole Foods is interested in a higher integrity option. So we're really excited to see, when we first started out, I think our demographic was kind of a 25-year-old male CrossFitter. Right. And we've seen this consumer evolution over the past couple of years where now we still hit that market without a doubt. But now we're seeing, moms and dads, who are doing like the family shopping, buying for their kids, which is why Snackmates was launched. That's a much bigger demographic, and you're able to reach a much, much larger population by appealing to that consumer. So we're really excited to see what we do become much more mainstream.
Great. Yeah. Once you have a foothold in Central Market, you should definitely talk to HEB. It's the same.
We're working on it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been to San Antonio to their headquarters. So stay tuned on HEB.
Okay.
One thing I was going to ask you, let me put it this way. It's obviously a very tasty product. What are the values nutritionally? How much fat is there in a typical bar? How much protein is there in a typical bar?
Yeah, so the ingredients and the nutritional panels will be available, I think, for you guys to see on when you post. One of the things that we find in the market is often there's more sugar, grams of sugar than protein in a lot of our competitors' products. Mm-hmm. And so I believe if you look at the back of the package, obviously we have a wide array of products, so it does vary a bit. So the protein, generally speaking, it can be a little bit higher in a grass-fed, grass-finished jerky, but at the end of the day, as far as protein goes, meat is kind of meat. And so for us, it's more about what's not in it, right? So you see some of our competitors have up to 15 grams of sugar per serving, sometimes three servings per bag. So you're talking about 45 grams of sugar in a bag of jerky. And so what we have with no added sugar, you're looking at, maybe 2-3 grams of sugar per serving. The sodium is about 1/5 of standard what you see in meat snacks. The same said for the sugar. So yeah, it's the protein. You can certainly look, depending on what product you purchase. All the information is available online.
Okay, so the reason I ask is that a lot of people are going to be thinking, well, this is nice, it's a good snack, but how many bars do I need to take with me on a half-day march or something like that?
As far as if you're counting macros and things of that nature?
Whether they're counting macros or they just don't want to go hungry. That's the sort of things. I mean, the higher the fat content, normally, the more satiety you get from a snack or any type of food.
Right.
Or energy as well. So, I mean, it's more of a practical nature is the sort of the basis of my question. But as you say, they can look on the nutritional.
Sure, and that's one of those things. And because of the array of products, I don't want to, and I don't have a bag in front of me. So, and also macros vary so much by person. Yeah. Right. So if you're talking about a 100-pound woman versus a 240-pound guy who's a big lifter, obviously that's going to vary a lot. So it's kind of going to be an individual needs. I would encourage people to read labels. We obviously, we actually used to put the ingredients right on the front of our packaging because we wanted people to read what was in it. So we certainly encourage both nutrition panel and ingredient list studying by consumers.
Okay, I mean, you obviously eat them yourself anyway.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, sort of how many jerky bars, for instance, would you say, that's enough, I'm okay now for...
So we don't, just to clarify, we don't actually make bars. Epic does make bars. So we do jerky and sticks. I mean, it would certainly depend on duration of trek. I mean, is it a 2-day trip? Is it an overnight thing? And how much someone needs? I'm 6'5", 220 pounds. So for me, if I was doing a day hike, and I was going to subsist entirely on our products, I would want probably a couple bags of jerky and maybe 3 sticks. And I would feel strong, and I wouldn't feel like I was, getting hangry at the my party.
Mark, I'm on their website, and I have some nutrition fact. For example, the jerky has 2.5 gram of fat, carbohydrates 2%, cholesterol 8%, sodium 240 milligrams, total calories 90 calories, and from fat 20 calories. And that's for the standard one. And for the meat sticks, 90 calories, from fat 60. So there's more calories from fat in the sticks than in a jerky. And on the stack mates, calories 90 and from fat 60 as well. So the jerky, I guess, being a more of a dry product, contains less fat, is more lean meat, whereby the other products contain more, the meat itself contains more fat. Does that help?
Yeah, well, it's really more for those people who are a little bit more anal about their figures and facts and figures, and want to know how many I'm going to need to take and this, that, and the other without too much guesswork.
Right. Oh no, you said the A word.
Did I? Oh well, there we go. It's Andrew Knowles, A. Knoll. One of the other things I noticed that's sort of filtering into the edge, this is on going back to the GMO subject, the amount of cattle now that are being grass-fed and grass-finished GMO grass. The stuff made by, I think it's Scott's, Kentucky Bluegrass, I think is the brand of grass that they're pushing. Will that have effect on you? Will that sort of keep you out of the States as far as sourcing the meat?
Yeah, I mean that's obviously a concern. As of right now, we make the claim of non-GMO, but because we don't have the actual non-GMO verification, it's not actually on our packaging yet. But certainly that's something I think that any company who's going to call themselves the highest integrity option, that's something that you've got to be aware of. And so our operations team, I mean, the hurdles and the trials and tribulations that they put our poor suppliers through are seemingly endless. And so, yeah, I think if that were an aspect of a farming operation, it would have to be a deal breaker for us. Just based on our commitment to the consumer and to the market, it would sort of be, just something that wouldn't work for the new Primal.
I'll bring that up for two reasons. One, because I know you've got a desire to source from the States if you can, but that sort of thing's going through the market. It's really going to push your suppliers away, isn't it? Really,
it is. I mean, I use the analogy of a Rubik's cube in this market a lot. When you're working on a Rubik's cube and you're trying to figure it out, oftentimes you'll have one side that looks very well put together, and then you turn it over and you've completely messed up the other sides. And so it's a lot of pieces, puzzle pieces that have to come together to make a company work. And it would be a lot easier if we just said, grass-fed's not really that important. Feedlots aren't that bad. GMOs, we're fine with that. It would be way easier, and that's why there are so many more companies that do that. As they say, if it was easy, everyone would do it.
Yeah.
And so, it's one of those things that we do. We make it harder on ourselves in order to offer a better product, or as I say, that the higher integrity option. Yeah,
which, as you say, it does show that you're going the extra mile in order to make a much better product.
Right, absolutely, and that helps us get shelf space in retailers, because we don't come in with the same old option that's going to cannibalize sales of a Jack Link's or one of those gas station kind of standbys that's been there forever.
Yes. So one last thing, really, the autoimmune protocol. Typically, what type of people, or rather what type of health problems would that your product appeal to? Let's rephrase it. What type of health product someone has would make your product more attractive to them? No, I just said it wrong. You know what I say?
The health problems.
Yeah.
Okay. So for a lot of people, you know, I mentioned gut inflammation, and I think that can manifest in a lot of different ways with folks, whether it's bloating or, you know, digestion issues, lethargic, you know, brain fog. There are a lot of different ways that a gut inflammation issue can manifest for folks. So the Date and Rosemary chicken offering an AIP friendly snack, you know, it's the only one we have now. I think the reaction has been fantastic to it. It's we're big believers in you can offer the healthiest thing in the world, but if it doesn't taste great, you're not going to be very happy. The consumer's not going to be very happy. The retailer's not going to be happy. So we think it tastes great as well. But yeah, so it really depends on the individual consumer. But it's one of those things where it doesn't have any items or any ingredients rather that are known causes of inflammation. Now, you can probably find someone somewhere who's allergic to dates, right? Or someone somewhere who can't eat chicken for whatever reason. But in appealing to the masses and trying to offer a product that works for as many people as possible, that's kind of where the Date and Rosemary chicken comes in.
Okay, one last question. When are you bringing out the vegetarian option?
There are plenty of companies out there doing that. Even in our category, not so much in conventional grocery, but in natural grocery, there are folks who make a quote unquote vegetarian jerky. Now, by definition, it's not actually jerky,
No.
obviously, but I mean, there's room for everybody. I think that there's a consumer for just about every product out there. You look at the different niches that have been carved out by different companies. Some offer, 50 different crazy flavors. There are companies that do alligator jerky and kangaroo jerky and all sorts of kind of outlandish proteins. And so I think we'll probably steer clear of the vegetarian option. I think we found that our niche of higher integrity, cleaner ingredients, animal welfare has worked out pretty well for us. So I imagine we'll stick with that.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I'm a little bit jealous that Alan has tried it and I haven't, but
we'll have to get you some. I'll make sure that you get some sent to you.
Smashing.
Yeah, I'm the lucky guy here.
Yeah, he gets all the samples.
I get all the samples. Yeah. Well, they'll teach you to live over there.
I know.
Yeah.
You need to move here back to the US. So. David, where can we find the information about your products?
Yeah, so our website is www.thenewprimal.com. You can learn more about the backstory of the brands, read up more on the products that we offer, learn more, just generally speaking, about the company. Availability on Amazon.com, of course. Thrivemarket.com is a big seller of our products. Those are the primary resources I would use.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you again, David, for being on the Low Carb Paleo Show and sharing your products with us. And like we say in Texas, à votre santé, y'all.
Thank you for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
It's our pleasure.